The fire had no sound at first, only heat, a wall of it, pressing through the taiga like a living thing. Pines cracked and popped, their resin exploding as flames climbed higher, turning the dusk sky a violent orange. He had been driving the forest road when the smoke rolled in, thick and choking, forcing him to stop. That was when he saw the police vehicle. It was half off the road, one wheel sunk into a ditch, hazard lights blinking weakly through the haze. Instinct told him to turn back. No one would blame him. Fires in the taiga didn't forgive mistakes. Then he heard coughing. He pulled a scarf over his mouth and ran toward the car. The heat burned his lungs. Inside, slumped over the steering wheel, was a woman in a police uniform. Blood trickled from her temple. She was unconscious. "Hey, hey!" he shouted, trying the door. It was jammed. Flames leapt closer, devouring dry grass. He smashed the side window with a rock, shards cutting his hands, and reached in to unlock the door. The smoke was worse inside the car. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders and dragged her free, her weight heavy and unresponsive. Every step away from the road felt like walking through fire itself. His vision blurred, legs shaking, but he didn't stop. He carried her toward a rocky outcrop where the flames hadn't reached yet, dropped to his knees, and shielded her with his own body as embers rained down. Minutes or hours passed before the fire finally moved on, leaving behind silence and ash. When help arrived, he was barely conscious. Paramedics rushed in, loading her onto a stretcher. Someone pulled him back, wrapped him in a blanket, asked his name. He didn't answer. He just watched as they took her away, wondering if she would live. She woke to the smell of antiseptic and the steady beep of a monitor. Her head throbbed. Memories came back in fragments, smoke, loss of control, the fire closing in. Panic surged until she realized she was safe. A hospital room, morning light. A nurse noticed her stirring and leaned in. "You're lucky," she said softly. "Very lucky." The officer swallowed, her throat dry. "Who pulled me out?" she whispered. The nurse smiled almost in disbelief. "A man who found you by chance. He saved your life." Her eyes closed for a moment. Then, barely audible, she whispered a name. The nurse froze. "How did you know that?" she asked. Because somehow, through smoke, fire, and darkness, she remembered him. They told her she'd been unconscious for nearly 12 hours. The doctor explained the burns were minor, the concussion serious but stable. Smoke inhalation had done the worst damage. Another 10 minutes in that car, he said, and the outcome would have been very different. She listened quietly, fingers tightening around the blanket as the truth settled in. "Do you know the man's name?" she asked. The doctor hesitated. "He was treated here briefly. Smoke exposure, cuts on his hands. He refused to stay once he knew you were alive." "That's not an answer," she said. Her voice firmer now, the voice she used on duty. A nurse exchanged a glance with the doctor. "His name is Alexei," she said gently. "That's all we have. No last name. He was driving through the taiga for work. Forestry contracts, I think. Alexei." The name echoed in her mind, heavy with something she couldn't explain. She remembered flashes now, not clearly but enough. Strong arms, a hoarse voice close to her ear, someone telling her to breathe, someone refusing to let go. She insisted on sitting up, on being discharged as soon as protocol allowed. Rules had always been her anchor, but now they felt insufficient. There was an unfinished thread pulling at her. 2 days later, against medical advice, she returned to the stretch of road where the fire had trapped her. The taiga still smelled of ash. Blackened tree trunks stood like silent witnesses. Her patrol car was gone, but the ditch remained. She stood there for a long time, replaying what could have happened. "You shouldn't be here alone." She turned sharply. A man stood a few meters away, hands in his jacket pockets, bandages still visible beneath worn gloves. His face was tired, lined with the kind of exhaustion that came from more than just lack of sleep. "Alexei," she said before thinking. His eyes widened. "So you remember?" "I remember enough," she replied. "You saved my life." He shrugged, uncomfortable. "Anyone would have done it." "No," she said quietly. "They wouldn't have." They stood facing each other, the burned forest between them, the unspoken weight of that night pressing in. He hadn't stayed for thanks. She hadn't known how to give it. "I whispered your name," she said suddenly. "When I woke up, He frowned. I never told you my name. I know. For the first time he smiled, small, uncertain, real. The fire had taken much from the forest, but it had left this behind, 2 lives, no longer strangers, standing at the edge of what came next. They walked together along the edge of the burned road, boots crunching softly over ash and gravel. The Taiga was quiet now, almost reverent, as if it remembered the fire and chose silence instead. Neither of them hurried to speak. I keep thinking about that night, she said at last, about how close it was. Alexei nodded. I've driven those roads for years. Fires change fast out here. You don't get second chances. And yet, she replied, meeting his gaze, you gave me one. He stopped walking. For a moment he looked like he might say something dismissive again, wave it off as luck or instinct. But he didn't. I was scared, he admitted. Not of the fire, of leaving someone there. The honesty in his voice surprised her more than heroics ever could. She felt the weight of her uniform, the badge that had always defined her. Out here it didn't matter. She was just a woman who had almost died. They reached the rocky outcrop where he had dragged her to safety. The stone was blackened but solid. He touched it briefly, as if confirming it was real. This is where you woke up for a second, he said. You grabbed my sleeve. Her breath caught. I don't remember that. You said my name, he continued, clear as day. That's when I knew you'd make it. She swallowed. I don't usually believe in things like fate. Neither do I, he said. But some moments don't ask for belief. The wind moved through the scorched trees, carrying the faint scent of pine beneath the ash. Life returning. Slowly. I'm being transferred, she said after a pause, closer to the city. He looked away, absorbing the words. That makes sense. It does, she agreed. But before I go, I wanted to find you, to say thank you properly. She reached into her pocket and held out her badge, not offering it, just showing it. I enforce the law, she said, but that night I was powerless. Alexei shook his head. You weren't powerless, you survived. They stood close now, not touching, but no longer distant. What bound them wasn't romance or obligation, it was something quieter. Recognition. If you ever drive through the city, she said, look me up. He met her eyes. And if you ever find yourself back in the Taiga, he replied, you won't be alone. They parted without promises, without dramatic gestures. The forest watched them go, scarred but standing. Some fires destroy, others reveal what truly matters, and then let you walk away, changed.